Our big challenge right now is waking up the normie right. And this is going to be the challenge of what I'm about to say, because it's not going to apply to anybody who watches Timcast any night. I'm talking about my neighbors. All my neighbors, 92, 93% Republican neighborhood. We get together every weekend. We're all having a blast. We drink beer, Luke. We play horseshoes. We have crawfish boils. The kids play in the yard. It's a blast. They agree with me on all my values. They agree with everyone in this room in general. Obviously, we're all different in our basic values.
But they're putting their kids in college?
Oh, man, I'm so proud. Little Aiden got into Stanford. I'm so excited. Where'd Jaden go? Oh, Jaden got into Harvard. That's exciting. The people who share our values are so out of touch with how evil the traditional institutions are in this nation, the institutions that they previously have attended, and that they will not only still patronize these institutions, they'll write them big checks, they'll send their kids there, and then they'll come to neighborhood parties and brag about it. And I'll just sit there with my jaw hanging open, because I know the love and care that parent took with that kid. I know that kid, 18 years of love and care and values and manners, and you're so proud, but you're so unplugged. You're so not wired in that you send them off to the wolves. And like clockwork, 2 years later, Jesse, I can't believe it. Aiden came home. He's got 20 rings in his face and a Joe Biden sticker on his car. And he hates my guts. And what do you want me to tell you? The normie right, the leave me alone right. I just want to go to work. I just want to play. I just want to watch football.
It's not just the normie right. Do you know how many people we've had on this show who talk about the exact same thing? We've had conservative guests come on the show who complain about the left, say, yeah, my kid just got into college, so I'm really excited for that. And I'm like, do you listen to your own videos?
Yeah. I know. I go through the same thing. I go through the same thing with people I know, with people I love. The right has such a difficult time accepting where we are. And I understand that, because that's human nature. I don't even just want to indict the right. It is human nature to deny the reality of your situation for as long as you possibly can, because it's that bad or you don't want to bother with it. This is why I laugh and mock people on the right when they say things like, well, we're the silent majority. What does that matter? Majority means nothing. They grab the seats of power. They find the chokeholds of power. That's why the right will sit there and scream all day long when there's some child drag show in their blood red town in Oklahoma somewhere. You know why? Because you were busy being the silent majority, and the communists were busy taking over your public library, taking over your city government. While you were flipping burgers and playing fantasy football, he was grabbing the seats of power. And when you explain these things to them, they're shocked. I remember this like it was yesterday. One night, just one last point on this. One night I'm sitting around the table. There's 10 couples there. And we're all, and I don't talk a lot of politics. They all know what I do, but I don't like to do that at a party. So I just kind of chill and relax. But it came up, someone asked me about something, and I brought up ESG. Now, we're talking with successful people here. All of them wired in, our values, successful people here. Not one man or woman at that table had ever even heard ESG. And when I explained what ESG was and told them all, I said, everyone right now, pick up your cell phone and look up your bank. I guarantee your bank has a dedicated ESG page on it. They all thought I was a nut job conspiracy theorist. You could have heard a pin drop in there over the next 5 minutes as they discovered the reality of the world they live in. Until the normie right that shares normal values realizes it's in a war, a culture war, and there will be one victor. Then 20 years, maybe 100. They got a lot of waking up to do, and it's going to take years to do.
They're rebranding ESG, by the way, according to James Lindsay. You're going to stop hearing it. They'll be like, no, ESG was crazy. Now it's called like global something. I'll bring that up tomorrow to clarify. You know, you talked about people denying reality until the very last second when it's painful. I think that with voting. I don't think voting matters anymore.
Yeah, well, it may or may not. Now, this is what I want to explain. Obviously, they cheat in elections. And when I say that, don't tell me they don't. There's a reason the entire Democratic Party thinks voter ID is illegal. It should be illegal. That's insane. You should obviously have to show an ID. The only reason you wouldn't want that is because you cheat and want to cheat some more. So don't tell me they don't cheat. But setting that aside, the right, again, back to the normie right, even people who are activists of some way. You know what our participation is in primaries? 20%. Democrats participate
Oh,
50% in primaries.
Look at Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly. Republicans 20%. So we wonder why the Democratic Party's gone full-blown communist in the past 10 years, and yet we still have a bunch of limp-wristed losers running the low-T GOP in this country. That's because the communists show up and vote, and what do? We throw a Trump sticker on our car and say, Donald Trump will save us, and we skip the local primary, or even worse, we show up and vote for the same turd who just voted for everything.
But listen, I agree with you on all that, but I don't think that changes anything I just said.
Well, what you said that I don't agree with.
Because having kids is not enough. It's important, but it's not grabbing the seats of power. If you're going to grab kids and still send Aiden off to Stanford, then it's not a net gain.
That I understand, but that still doesn't matter. Well, the cities are destroying themselves. This stuff doesn't work. If someone came to me and said, I am deeply concerned by this new movement of people who are, harming themselves, I'd be like, well, over a long enough period of time, they won't exist because they've harmed themselves.
You could say that about the CCP having the one-child policy, but they didn't destroy themselves because they have such an authoritarian, weaponized system.
But that's not what I'm talking about. See, the thing about the CCP is that they just kidnap and murder people, and while the United States certainly has those capabilities as well, they're not. The U.S. has safeguards and protections that I think will be weakened, be damaged, are being eroded, but will probably stand strong enough to where I think over the long enough period of time, a combination of factors, the foundation of this country and the Constitution itself, with all the attacks against it, and the fact that it's big and partially decentralized, more so than many of the other countries. As long as we keep up the culture war battle, as long as we say, don't buy Anheuser-Busch, here's all you got to do, Jesse. When you have those parties, just let your neighbors, the couples that are coming over, say, hey, don't buy any beer. My treat, I'm taking care of it. Then you go and you buy the beer and you don't buy Busch.
On that one, I will say this for some good news. This past weekend was probably the first weekend I hung out with those same neighbors where, to a man, every Tom, Dick, and Harry showed up and they were all talking about the Bud Light thing and it was all negative. This was the thing that really snapped them into.
That's what I'm saying.
Economic
These people were nuts. Yeah, this was the thing. They all brought it to me. Got to get rid of the Bud Light. Good grief, this is horrible. Won't be buying that again.
That's what I'm saying. When I saw the reaction to the Bud Light story, I said, I think we have an opportunity to reach regular people with this. Yeah. Striking at beer was the biggest mistake they made, but they had to make it. I'm imagining there's this great battlefield, and we'll make a metaphor of it, with the woke people looking over a map, and it's the year is 2011, and they're like, okay, our first move is to send our troops into video games and video game journalism because older people won't see, and that means the commanders on the right will ignore it. It may bother young people, but if we can get a foothold there, we can then spread our troops around and gain control of movies and literature and TV shows, and then the lieutenant says, but sir, what about this area? And he points to beer. No, don't go near that one. We don't have near enough power in the culture war to strike at something as prominent as beer. And they thought now was that time. And maybe, I don't think so, but maybe they said, we have gained enough ground and enough institutions to where we can now muster an incursion on beer. And they're hoping that the right is weakened and demoralized to the point where their weird, insane cult garbage will actually successfully take over beer. I'm confident that they don't have the power to do so, especially if forces like ours tell people to resist to this degree.
Problem I'm having, you guys, and I'm severely black-pilled on voting. Maybe you can help me. That they're tallying votes on proprietary voting machines in private makes me feel so given up.
Right. I just don't want to deviate from the cultural stuff.
I know the cultural stuff is the victory. That is the win. But we're talking about, it's holistically like your metaphor about raising young conservative kids that then they will vote and fix the system. I don't feel that.
The voting, I didn't say any, yes. But what I'm saying is right now, our victory has to be cultural. The point is, have kids overwhelm the system to a degree where whatever you think, it doesn't matter. If we're looking at 4-1 in the votes, you win hands down.
But if the
no matter
vote's
what they
done
do.
In secret, how doesn't matter? It just doesn't matter. That's what Stalin said. It doesn't matter who votes. It matters who counts the votes. Joe Biden say that too. I think my cameras are not plugged in. We better
plug it. Yeah, I think it's about to die and you need to plug it in.
I'll take it.
Oh, I see the power. What were you going to say, Jesse?
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing I noticed that. It's about to cut out.
If I can maybe ease your concerns, maybe not. obviously everyone knows there's a bunch of crap going on when it comes to voting, but that doesn't change your community. That, and unless you live in Philadelphia or New York or something like that, your community, those are the votes that matter. Who's on your school board? Who's your DA? Who's your sheriff? Who's on your city council? There's not some gigantic election cheating scheme in your community. Here I live in Texas. May 6th, we have elections. Are Republicans going to actually show up and participate? Now, they're not sexy. It's not president. It's not Trump and DeSantis and the presidency. They're boring. Friggin' city council candidates and all that. We get outvoted in those. And it's not cheating. They show up 2, 3, 4 to 1 while we sit at home. Are we going to show up or not?
Okay, and they have an urban advantage. Because of population density, it's easier for them to expand their ground game and harder for people in rural areas.
Maybe that I've become overly obsessed with federal politics, and I've become demoralized.
All the right has, even if you consider yourself there, all the right has, because the right has this horrible savior complex because we're busy, we have jobs, families. They want one person to just win the presidency and fix it. Fix it, Trump. Just fix it, DeSantis. Neither one of those guys is going to be able to fix anything. It starts locally. It starts in your community. We start local, protect your community, fortify it, and then we expand it from there. Eventually, we get to Washington, D.C. Freedom's never going to come from Washington, D.C.
Well, let me ask you about that gathering you had where your neighbors came to you. Like, let's get specific on that. Like, so what happened? Did they show up and they were like, "Hey, Jesse, what's up with this beer thing?"
Well, we were. Who knows all the conversation that was going on? The beer thing this weekend. It was immediate, Tim. It was not. Well, something that came up after a while. Everybody, because everyone usually drives golf carts around the neighborhood or just walks to wherever we're going, seeing who's out and about, lawn chairs and stuff like that. Everyone, as they walked up, was talking about, it was the number one subject on everyone's mind. They were all talking about it. I'm getting rid of it. I'm done forever. Crap, I'm embarrassed. I didn't bring mine because I didn't want to get made fun of. I'm never buying it again.
That's it right there.
It was
I didn't want to get made fun of.
Oh, yeah.
That's the power of, see, this is what the left uses. They use shame. But if the dude bros are concerned about being made fun of, they're not going to do it. But that's why I was saying, like, you can simplify it for everybody and be like, don't worry, guys, beer's on me. And they go, yeah. And then you show up with a different brand.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that we need to unify against a common enemy? Do you think that we need that?
That's why I wrote the Anti-Communist Manifesto, which can be purchased at jessekellybook.com. No, listen, in all seriousness, that's why I talk about anti-communism so much. The right must unify. And we talk about libertarians and conservatives and nationalists and all these different parts of the right. And I'm not dismissing any of those parts and the different points any of them make. I have my own desires there. But what we're doing when we spend all this time, what should the end result be? Should tax rates be here or there? What we're actually doing is we're sitting inside the courtyard of a castle, and we're coming at each other about what color the drapes should be and how tall the buildings should be, while the enemy hordes are coming through the front gates to kill us all. We stop the left first, or all these arguments the right has about what should or shouldn't be, they're all meaningless. None of it means anything at all. These people will steal, kill, and destroy everything. Once we stop them, then we can have that argument. And anti-communism is all that matters.
Here's the important thing I think needs to be said. These people have been engaged in this for a lot longer than you.
Oh, yeah. Pros.
You look at the analogy I was making about the battle map. You look at Gamergate. The institutional power was behind that, and we watched the subversion of our institutions. My favorite is the Free Press, an organization I've known for a long time, called for the banning of Alex Jones. So wait just a gosh darn minute. In 2011, they were like, the free press needs to stand and independent media is important. And then a few years later, they're like, Alex Jones is evil. And it's like, aren't you guys the free press? Why are you advocating for the removal of a media? Well, because it's fake news. I'm like, since when did you take the position on what is allowed to be news or not? But here's my point. The right is now actively and angrily pushing back in a way that's unprecedented. The way it's always been viewed before is that the left is pulling the entire country as hard as possible leftward, and the right was only resisting a little bit. Or a better way to explain it is the Republicans or Democrats driving the speed limit. Now, the chain snapped, the Democrats have driven off the edge, and Republicans are stopping and saying, no more, we're not moving. This is the point where we've actually seen active resistance to the woke takeover. after a long period of time. That's why I'm optimistic on this. Because, I see the only way the left wins is if people on the right stop and say, you know what, I agree with the left, and then join them. Because what we're facing right now is their cities are crumbling, anarcho-tyranny doesn't work. What they're trying to do is destabilize police departments, destabilize cities in an effort to take things over. De Blasio said during the lockdowns that something to the effect of buying up property as prices collapse and then converting it to public housing. But these policies only result in them losing influence and power because despite what they may hope with ESG and all that stuff, meritocracy still has a large grip. True capitalism still has a large grip. If you can't make money, you can't get power from it. They can try and manipulate using the Federal Reserve. They can try and give out loans and all that stuff, but they still need to be able to garner influence. And for the first time, probably in forever, the right stuck a stake in the ground and said, we're not moving. Now they're dealing with a collapse in their own influence and resistance at the same time. I look at it mathematically and say, if I were to step back from all of this and just go into a tower and watch, and I started doing the math to me looks like it will be a hard-fought battle, but the right will win, either through attrition or through perseverance, something the left doesn't have.
What concerns me, we're in Austin right now. I went around for a walk earlier today, and I saw like some signs in yards like Beto O'Rourke, trans rights or human rights. And I'm like, you know what? When I was in LA, we would have parties where I'd go to a party. There'd be a trans guy or girl. There'd be someone that barely spoke English. There'd be a communist. There'd be a conservative Christian, and we'd all get along. And we would all talk politics and we would all get along. But I go to this website. James Lindsay brought this up, beautifultrouble.org. It's a training website on how to do direct violent action creatively. And it's like a pop-up, get in trouble, it says. So like, how do you combat or resist active attempts to organize destruction?
Active attempts to organize destruction.
No, hold on, but sorry, this is my point.
You should pull this website.
They're destroying their own cities. Why am I going to cry about it?
Because they're my cities too.
Well, not any longer, dude. Get out.
Your cities too.
What's the website?
They're the economic heartland, beautifultrouble.org. And it is just
we want to be promoting that.
You got to shine a light on this crap.
Well,
I mean, maybe it doesn't say anything violent on the website. It's real flowery, but keep in mind, creative energy injection in your direct action.
Keep in mind the real true heart of the problem is not necessarily the street animals. The street animals are always an issue. Don't get me wrong, and they hurt people and whatnot. But the mob wasn't powerful back when they were powerful because they shot a bunch of people in the head. The mob was powerful back when they were powerful because they owned the positions of power. They owned the judges and they owned the cops and they owned the government positions.
I disagree.
That's what gave. Well, it's true. That's what gave them their true power. That's why any organized crime in any area that really takes hold. The reason they can keep out other organized crime when you think they just go shoot him in, it's because he's just going to have like the cartels in Mexico. Half the times they use the cops to kill you. The cops will show up, arrest you, take you out, and shoot you in the face. Yep. The problem we have in America is they own the FBI, they own the DOJ, they own the CIA, they own the NSA, they from up on high, from the president on down. Oh wow, you're a pro-life guy reading Bible verses in an abortion clinic. Boom, abortion, felony. Try to put him away forever. You're some, I think it was a transsexual guy today attacked the Catholic Church. DOJ is recommending no charges. But we don't have the guys on top, and that's the issue.
And to a certain degree, I think it is. But confidence is the principal issue. And the reason why many judges won't uphold the law is because they fear Antifa. Now, you can say there's a component of this in Antifa will get away with crimes. Therefore, Antifa is more confident in committing crimes and getting away with it. But it all, to me, looks like one big Mexican standoff. I see a bunch of people standing in a crowd who don't like wokeness, but will not be the person to say anything because they think everyone will then turn to them. The average person, in my opinion, let's look at that business in Portland, Coava, that shut down. I'm willing to bet that these people who worked at this cafe in downtown Portland would put flyers in the window saying Black Lives Matter and, in this house, we believe science is real and go Biden 2020.
Science is real. Kills me.
Even though they don't like the ideas, even though they despise the ideology, they would put those signs in their window out of fear that if they don't, Antifa will come and smash their windows. They have confidence that, and it doesn't mean a good thing, it means they truly believe that if they don't adhere, their business will be destroyed. But this is my point. Their business was already destroyed. Even their capitulation to the far left extremists and their feigning of support for them still resulted in the destruction of their business. That's why I'm like, look, confidence is everything. If at any point people no longer have confidence in law enforcement may as well not exist. You can see this in other countries. If you don't think a cop can do anything to you, you won't listen to that cop. In the United States, we do fear the police because we are confident if we break the law, we will get arrested and we will go to jail and the book will be thrown at us. Now we're starting to see in these big cities, that ain't true. So crime's running rampant and people are doing whatever they want, which is resulting in economic collapse. The seats of power may be beneficial, but only so far as human beings are actually working on a system that can maintain itself, right? Let's slow down. I'll back up. When we talk about third, fourth, and fifth generational warfare, the question is, if you could take over a country without firing a single bullet, would you do it? Right? If you wanted to take over a country and there was a means by which you could do it without firing a single bullet or engaging in any violent action, would you do it? Well, the answer is of course, because violence is expensive and resource heavy. If there was a cheaper and easier way to do anything, you'd do it. So that's why we see information warfare. These people need power. They want power. In order to have power, people have to do things that benefit them and empower them. So if they're a judge, if they're in charge of law enforcement in a city with no people, they have nothing. Those seats of power are completely meaningless if confidence in those cities is shattered. To simplify it even to a greater degree, if there are 100 people and one person becomes the chief of police, so long as those people keep working and paying taxes and they believe that chief of police has power, that chief of police can get those people to do whatever he wants. He can then implement changes. He can put up whatever flag he wants, and those people fear him. But if it comes to a point where no matter what happens, these people are failing and their businesses are destroyed, they're just going to say the system doesn't exist. And I'll give you another example of where I think this is going and why I think this. The founding fathers talked about the right of the presumption of innocence, rooted in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. The idea that it is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer is not just about protecting individuality. It was about protecting the system itself. If you have a society where everyone believes that no matter what they do, whether they're good or bad, they will be punished, well, then there's no incentive to be good at all. Look, I'm going to go work my job and be honest, but those guys are destroying everything, they're stealing everything, and they're not getting arrested. What's the point of being good? I might as well join them. But if the system says, if you are a good person, we will do everything in our power to make sure the weight of government is never pressed against you, you will have the presumption of innocence, then the pressure is created that says to a person, be the innocent one, don't be the criminal, and the system will make sure you are safe. So now that they're creating cities and institutions that punish people no matter what they do, they're actually gutting and destroying their own structures, their own institutions, their own power base. And that's why I was saying, so long as these cities and places like Florida and Texas exist that are turning redder, or West Virginia, they can do whatever they want. They're knocking the legs out from their own structures, and we are building up ours stronger and better than ever. So I say, who cares? Let them do it.
I think that was San Francisco. I see the homeless. I keep hearing about how horrible it is. And part of me has this like malicious grin on the inside where I'm like, good, they deserved it. And then the other part of me is like,
they do.
Am I a horrible human for feeling that way?
No, they do.
What's wrong with me that I would enjoy that or find any glee?
You're supposed to. You're actually, let me explain. By you thinking that, what you just said right now, that makes you a bad person. You know why? Because these people voted for this stuff. And I have a smile on my face saying, I'm so happy for you that you got what you asked for. You should be very, very happy. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.